This is a response video to a Mr. Slipknot P Harrington, or as I will refer to him, Mr. Harrington. Now, Mr. Harrington takes issue to the fact that the chief scientist said it's now time for GMO foods, and quite frankly, Mr. Harrington disagrees with this. However, I couldn't disagree with Mr. Harrington more, because quite frankly, if GMOs are as many of the anti-GMO people are saying are so dangerous, then this should be incredibly easy to prove. And yet, the only study that Mr. Harrington can cite is the infamous rat study. Now, I'd like to point out that Mr. Harrington hasn't read the paper, because if he had, he would certainly notice that the rats eating GM food lived 50% longer than the rats not eating GMO food. So, obviously, there are health benefits. Ironically, this wasn't brought up because one of the things that, as Mr. Harrington shows, is the pictures of the rats with massive tumours. Now, what Mr. Harrington doesn't mention, and neither does the report, is that those particular rats are very, very susceptible to tumours. And not only were the non-GMO eating rats developing tumours, but so were the GMO rats, and they weren't any bigger than the ones that weren't eating the GMO food. So there are huge problems with this study, and I would very much urge Mr. Harrington to go look up the video made by Myles Power on this very subject, where he will take you through this video and explain why that study is so wrong. But let's not even get into that. Let's get into GMOs, because GMOs are the way of the future, like it or not. First of all, there are going to be many people saying, oh no, we should go back to this natural time. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't. The natural way of farming takes up more land, uses more water, and requires more herbicides. Again, poisoning the food. But there's something that's even more worse in play, because anyone who promotes that way of thinking is condemning a very large population of the world to death, because you cannot get a bigger yield from the natural way of farming than you can from a GMO crop. Because, as I'm sure most of you aware, in the UK recently, quite a lot of the farmers have been complaining that the rain has ruined their crops. Now imagine, you can genetically now modify these crops to go, okay, we like this type of climate. The obvious effects of GMO are so obvious, and again, if eating GMO is that bad, can you show me any other study, bar the rat one? Because, again, once you watch the Myles Power video, you will see why that study is bogus. I want you to show me some evidence, Mr. Harrington, of how bad GMOs supposedly are. So that was my challenge to Mr. Harrington. So, yeah, GMOs are A-okay, like it or not.